Mrs. M. Priyadarshini, ME MBA, is doing PhD, is currently working as teaching fellow in the Department of IST, Anna University, Chennai. She completed a master's in software engineering from Anna University. She has about 10 years of experience in handling courses for UG and PG. She was serving as technical evangelist for corporate over 4 years in Java Enterprise Technologies, software engineering, databases, OOAD, and design patterns. She is proficient in handling IT projects as well into concept development for enterprises. She is doing a research in the area of web services security. Her other areas of interest include software engineering, OOAD, databases, enterprise technologies, and service-oriented architecture. She holds many journal publications and conference proceedings in her research area.
Welcome to UGC lecture series in Computer Science Java Part 16. So in this session, we are going to discuss about transaction in JDBC. So what is committing, how to roll back, about save points, and how to preserve data integrity. So first we'll have a look on what is a transaction. A transaction comprises a unit of work performed within a database management system. So an atomic transaction is either fully completed or is not begun at all. Consistent, a transaction enforces consistency in the system state by ensuring that at the end of any transaction, the system is in valid state. So first we'll look on what is a transaction. So this transaction is related to database. So in one particular database, I can do many operations that we know that in case of DML, data manipulation, I can insert a record, I can delete a record, I can update a record. So all these operations could be done on a database, that is on a particular table. So in that case, if I am trying to do a set of operation which has to be done together, so I term that as the transaction. So for example, you can consider that in our ATM machine. So whenever I go and swipe a card in the ATM machine, I can do a set of transaction in one swipe. So for example, I would have swiped and then first I will make a withdrawal. After I make a withdrawal, I may continue. So it will ask you whether to continue with your transaction. So in that case, you normally go in for your next option. So that's your balance inquiry. So like that, you can do various operations in one particular transaction. So this is one possibility, or else you would have also seen some ATM machines in which in one swipe you can do only one operation at a time. So after that particular operation, you have to swipe your card again. So it means that you are starting a new transaction. So you can take another scenario. You are trying to book your tickets. So whenever you try to book your ticket, so there are two particular operations that should be done in one particular transaction. So it means that I need to book the ticket as well as I need to make a payment. So two operations put as one single unit is called transaction. So whenever I do a transaction, I need to maintain certain properties in the transaction. So it's totally called as ACID properties. So first one is your atomicity. So what is atomicity? So you know what is atomic. So as a whole. So whenever I say there are set of operation in one particular transaction, if that particular set of operations, so I have to see to that whether all the operation happens, either the operation doesn't happen. So it means that think that in your booking scenario, I have booked the ticket but I have not made the payment. That should not happen. So in the other way also it should not happen. I have made the payment and the ticket is not booked. So in that case, if one of the operation is failed, so what I need to do, I have to roll back my other operations. So I have to roll back all the entire things that I have done in this transaction. So this is what is atomicity. Either both should happen or either none of them should happen. So next is consistency. So what is consistency? So think that I am transferring my fund from one particular account to another particular account. Whenever I transfer the fund should be in any one of the accounts. So after your transaction and then before your transaction, at both time your state should be valid. So totally if I take sum of my two accounts, it should be same before my transaction and also it should be same after my transaction. So, at any point of time there should not be any consistency in the state of my database. So, state is nothing but the value your database holds. Next is isolation. When a transaction runs in isolation, it appears to be the only action that the system is carrying out at one time. Next is durability. A transaction is durable in that once it has been successfully completed, all of the changes is made to the system are permanent. So, in case of isolation, what is isolation? So, you think in your scenario of booking your tickets in your IRCTC during your Tatkal time. So, during that point of time, there may be n number of users trying to access your particular database in which you have your tickets. So, number of tickets. So, in that case, think that if one user has to wait for another user, if one user entirely completes the transaction, only the other user can proceed with the transaction. So, then in that case what happens? Nobody will be able to book the ticket. So, in that case what we do is we have to provide some mechanism such a way that when one person is accessing the particular ticket database, another person should also be allowed to access the database, and you can have a locking system in such a way that you can make one particular as if he is working in an isolated way. So, it means that at that point of time I am trying to book my ticket. So, that field should be given to the particular user by providing the proper isolation mechanism. That is what is isolation. Next is about durability. So, think that you are going to an ATM and then you are trying to access the money. So, due to some reason your money is not dispensed. So, in that case what you have to do is, in normal scenarios what we do, we have to make a complaint to that particular banking system where they have to revoke all the changes that need to be made in your database, in the database of the other bank, everything. So, whereas in case of durability there should be some mechanism that is provided in while doing your transaction, that when something happens abnormally, your state of your database should be restored in such a way that that you don't have any loss of data. So, it means that your data will be durable. Whatever the changes you make here, it should be permanently made, and also nothing abnormally should happen to your data. There should not be any loss of data with respect to your account or any information. So, all these properties should be satisfied whenever I do a transaction. I need to see to that I check whether asset property is solved, my consistency is solved, my isolation is solved, and my durability is solved. So, by default transaction is in auto commit mode. It means that every SQL statement is committed to the database upon its completion. So, now we will see what is this commit option. So, there are n number of users trying to access a particular database, and then whenever I make an update in the data that is available in the database, it is not updated in the final copy of the database. That is not the original copy of the database. So, in that case what happens is, whenever I keep my auto commit option, so auto commit is whenever I execute a statement, your data will be directly updated to the final copy, that is your original copy of the database. So, if I set this particular auto commit to be off, so in that case I should manually do this particular commit operation. So, whenever I need to commit it, I will commit it. So, think that in case of your ticket booking, if my auto commit option is on, so then once any one of the options happen, whether the payment is made or whether your ticket is being booked, both gets updated in the database. So, it should not happen, because when I do a transaction, I should not set my auto commit to be on. So, if it is off, I can decide upon when I need to commit that particular, when I need to make this change to my permanent database. So, when one of the operation is not happening, so I can roll back my changes and make my database as if nothing has happened to my database. So, the reasons why we may want to turn off auto commit is to increase the performance, to maintain the integrity of the business process, and to use distributed transaction. So, whenever I use this auto commit off, so I can increase the performance. So, I can avoid unnecessary updations in the database which is not exactly required at that point of time. Next is integrity of the business process. So, integrity is loss of information. So, at all places your information should be properly received. So, that also could be ensured by turning this auto commit off. Otherwise, what will happen? Your payment would have been reduced from your account, whereas the ticket has not been booked. This is not the way your database should be reflected with that. So, in that case, that is not your business. This is violating your business process. Next is to distributed transaction. So many persons, whenever they try to access, I should provide a proper transaction mechanism. I should not keep it always my auto commit to be on. So in that case, I can allow distributed transaction, which could be better if only when my auto commit option is off. So the programmer decides when it has to be committed and when it should not be committed. So how to make this auto commit? So you are passing a boolean value to set auto commit. You turn off the auto commit. So whenever I pass false value, so it means that my auto commit is off. So and then by default it will be turned on. And then again after I make an auto commit option to be false, again I can turn it on. By default it will be true and I can set it to false, and later on if I want to reset it back to true also, that could be done. So in case of your commit, after your auto commit mode is disabled, no SQL statements are committed until you call the method commit explicitly. So if you had given an option of auto commit to be off, that is false, so in that case what happens is, so till I give a commit, so all the transactions, whatever, all the operations in the transaction, all the changes that you make to the database will not be committed until otherwise you explicitly do that particular commit operation. Next is all statements executed after the previous call to the method commit are included in the current transaction and committed together as a unit. So first I execute a commit statement. After a commit statement, I do a lot of options like updation, insertion and all that. So automatically what happens, your next transaction starts. Once you finish your commit, so automatically your next unit starts. So your next transaction unit starts. So and once I issue the commit, all the changes that I have made would have been committed to the database. Next is rollback option. So calling the method rollback, it terminates a transaction and returns any value that were modified to their previous value. So I already told you that. So I am transferring fund from one of my account to another account. So from account A to account B. So in that case, if I am trying to, first option that I should do is I should debit an amount, and after debiting it, I should credit it to an account B. So I have debited it from account A, and then while I credit it to my account B, at that point of time something happens and I was not able to credit it to the account. So in that case, what I can do is I can roll back my particular operation that I have done. So whenever I roll back, what happens is it will be rolled back to previous commit statement that I have given. So it means that your transaction starts after a commit statement. So whenever I give a rollback, it will be rolled back to the previous state of your database. So it means that your database will be as if it has not debited the amount from the account A. So your account A will not show any changes in the value of the account, your balance. So it means that it was as if it was before that particular operation has been executed. So if you are trying to execute one or more statement in a transaction and get an SQL exception, call the method rollback to end the transaction and start transaction all over again. So it means that normally when do we have SQL exception? When something goes abnormally, when you are, so you are trying to credit it to an account, you are not able to do it. Whenever you are trying to make a payment, you are not, so you don't have sufficient fund in your payment. So in that case, what should happen? You should roll back the booking of your ticket also. Your ticket would have been booked. Whenever you go for a make payment option, you are making your payment. At that point of time, if your account has insufficient balance, so then I have to roll back this particular operation, and then I have to move on to the state as if it was in the previous commit option. Now we will have a short break and then we will continue with the next part of your transaction. Welcome back after your break. So now we will continue with our session regarding the transactions. So how to do this with respect to your Java? To commit the changes, we call commit method on connection object. So I give connection.commit. To roll back the updates to the database made using connection named CONN. So we are using a connection named CONN, and then I am calling the method called rollback. So whenever I execute this, all the operations that is done after my previous commit will be committed to the database. So then I cannot roll back it. Once it's committed, it's committed. So when I call connection.rollback, what it will do is it will try to roll back all the manipulations that I have done till my previous commit. So next we will see what is a save point. So in case of save point, so you would have seen that in your OS we have an option. So we will have a save point, and if at all some your system, your OS crashes or whatever happens, so at that point of time what we do is we will try to recover the data at an earlier state. So I would have added 5 or 6 folders, I would have made some changes in my OS, whatever the changes that I have made, right, due to some problems I will not be able to recover. But what I can do is I can have a point, recovery point, till that recovery point whatever the state of my OS was there, I will be able to recover it. Similar to that, in your database also we have an option called save point. So I may be executing a set of statements. So I have started a transaction, and in the transaction I have done 2 or 3 operations. I am trying to insert a value and then I am trying to delete a value. After that I can mark a save point, and after the save point I can do few other operations, and then later on I identified that I need to roll back till my previous save point. So in that case I can give a rollback only till that particular save point, or else whenever I just give a rollback, it will roll back till my previous commit. So in one particular transaction there may be few operations which need to be rolled back and which need not be rolled back. So in that case, whatever the operations I don't want to get rolled back during my rollback operation, so I can just give a rollback option with a particular save point. So till that save point it will be rolled back. So you can see here a new JDBC 3.0 save point interface gives you an additional transaction control. When you set a save point, you define a logical rollback point with a transaction. If an error occurs past a save point, you can use a rollback method to undo either all the changes or only the changes made after the save point. It means that I can roll back till the save point or I can roll back till the commit option. That depends on what method of rollback I use. So you can see here the connection object has 2 new methods that help you to manage save point. So previously we don't have this save point till your JDBC 2.0. JDBC 3.0 only we have this particular option to set a save point and roll back till the save point. So you can see here you have a method called set save point, and then I am giving a string save point name. So I am going to assign a name to the save point. So this defines a new save point. It also returns a save point objects. So whenever I pass a name, so now there will be a save point that will be created with the name which is passed as a parameter. So there is another option called release save point. So save point and save point name. So this deletes a save point. Notice that it requires a save point object as the parameter. This object is usually a save point generated by set save point method. So at any point of time during my transaction, I can set a save point, and similarly as I set, I can also release few save points. So I may, whenever I do a set of operations, I may feel that this save point is not needed, just I can release the save point. So it's like adding a new save point and then like deleting a save point. So whenever I add a save point, just it's enough if I give the name of the save point. It creates an object. Whereas whenever I am trying to release it, I have to give the object of the save point and not the save point name. So you can see here save point, an object of it is created. So for a particular connection, I can set save points. Whereas I don't have any restriction for creating number of save points. So I can create as many save points in my transaction I like, and then whenever I want to use it, I can use it. Whenever I want to release it, I can release it and continue with my transaction. So here you can see the rollback method, the method which rolls back work to specified save point. So I can give the save point object. So this is save point object that is returned as a result by calling set save point method. So now I am giving the object of this to rollback. So what does releasing a save point means? Any save points that have been created in a transaction are automatically released and becomes invalid when the transaction is committed or when the entire transaction is rolled back. So think that I have committed. After I commit, I do two operations, and after I do that two operation, I created save point save 1, and then I am trying to execute few other statements. So at that point of time, I am trying to roll back to a particular save point. So in that case, only the last two operations which I have done after the save point has been created, till that only it will be rolled back. Whereas if I just give rollback, it will roll back till the previous commit that I have done. So in that case, I would have defined a save point save 1 that automatically gets released. I need not explicitly release a save point, provided I am trying to bypass a particular save point and I am trying to roll back till my previous save point. So if I have 5 save points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I am trying to roll back till save point 2. So in that case, 3, 4, 5, all these save points will be released automatically. So if I am trying to just give rollback, so all the save points that is created after the commit will be released. Next, rolling a transaction back to a save point automatically releases and makes invalid any other save points that were created after the save point in questions. So this is what I told you. Whenever I roll back to a particular save point, after the save point, whatever save points I have created, that will be deleted. So next we will move into how to preserve the data integrity. So in addition to grouping statements together for execution as a unit, so this is what I told you as transaction. So transaction can also help in preserving the integrity of the data in the table. So providing some level of protection against conflicts that arise when two users access the data at the same time, that is during your concurrent access. So I told you that many concurrent users will be trying to access the database. I have to maintain the integrity of the data. So one person changing or accessing the data without the knowledge of the other person. So whether that change has to be done in the table or it should not be done. So whether it's a valid change, everything should be preserved. So that is what is preserving your data integrity. So to avoid conflicts during a transaction, a DBMA uses locks mechanism for blocking access by others to the data that is being accessed by the transaction. After a lock is set, it remains in force until the transaction is committed or rollback. So one person is trying to access a particular database. So I have created a connection and then I have created a statement. So I am currently accessing a particular table. So at the same point of time, the same table is accessed by another user. So in that case, what I do is the first user who has accessed the data, who is currently accessing the data, he can lock it. And the lock can be of any type. There are many types of lock. That purely depends on the isolation level that you have given. So that based on that, the lock will be created, and the other person could update it or he cannot update it based on the lock mechanism that I have applied. So you can see here in auto commit mode, each statement is a transaction. Locks are held only for one statement. So when I have auto commit option, so if I am in an auto commit mode, so then it means that each transaction will be directly updated in the database. So I don't have an option of rolling back. So in that case, you are maintaining your data integrity. So that is for one lock. Whenever I say lock, that lock will be for only one particular statement I can do. I cannot do it for a particular statement and proceed with the other statement. It means that in case of your auto commit mode, one particular statement of your SQL means I am locking that particular statement alone. Here you can say that accessing an updated value that has not been committed is considered as dirty read. Locking helps preventing the dirt. So it means that what is a dirty read? I have executed a particular update. So this update, whatever I have executed, so before this update somebody would have read it, after that somebody would have read it. So there will be two different, so whatever data I am trying to access has been updated by somebody else. So whenever I try to commit it, so I take a data only after committing it. So that depends purely on my isolation level. So in that case, this dirty read is nothing but accessing an updated value that has not been committed. So before committing, if I access the value, someone would try to roll back that particular data. So it is not a proper data. It's not the original data that will be committed in your database. If rolled back, that data may not be available in the database. So you cannot do any other transaction based on this particular data before your commit. So setting your lock is purely determined by the isolation level. So transaction read committed. So it means that it will allow a value to be accessed until after it has been committed. So, it means that only another person could read the data after you do a commit. So, this is one particular isolation level. So, I say read committed means once the user commits, only another person will be able to read that particular data. There is another option called non-repeatable read. So, here you can see that when a transaction A retrieves a row, transaction B subsequently updates the row, and transaction A later retrieves the same row, whereas you can see the difference between the data. So, A has retrieved data, meanwhile B is changing the data, updating the data. So, your A whenever makes another query and see and have a look on the data, the previous data that A has access is different from that of the current data your A access. So, this is called as non-repeatable read. So, this is one of the issue. Next is phantom read. So, here when a transaction A retrieves a set of rows satisfying a given condition. So, subsequently B is inserting or updating a row that meets the condition that A have fetched that particular data based on which. So, and transaction A later repeats the conditional retrieval. Now, transaction A sees an additional row. So, this row is referred to as phantom row. So, some additional rows which is inserted into the database, which is not the proper data which was retrieved when A was accessing that particular database. So, the changes was made after A had read that particular set of rows. So, B would have inserted some data. So, that is an additional row with respect to the A to be processed. This is called phantom read. So, you can see that you can have these 5 levels of isolations which could be set in your JDBC. One is transaction none. Next is I don't have any transaction option at all. Next is transaction read committed. Only after committed you can read. Uncommitted. So, uncommitted data you can read. And transaction repeatable read. You have seen what is repeatable read. So, transaction which has an option for repeatable read. Next is transaction serializable. So, each one has different isolation levels. Your committed and repeatable read would have been included with few other options. Yes, it would have been given as serializable. So, when there are more number of JDBC calls, I normally go in for serializable. So, all these isolation level. So, this isolation levels could be set in the database. As a programmer, we have nothing. We need not do anything about the transaction isolation level. We can just use the default one for our DBMS. The default transaction isolation level depends on the DBMS that you are using. For in case of your Java database, its transaction read committed is by default. So, in case of your isolation level, there is a method. JDBC allows you to find what transaction isolation level your DBMS has using a method called get transaction isolation. Also allows you to set it to another level using connection method. So, I may be in read committed and then I want to move into read uncommitted. So, in that case, I can use get method to get what is the transaction isolation level, and then I can make some corrections on that. I mean, I can change the mode of my transaction isolation level. So, a JDBC driver might not support all transaction isolation level. If your driver doesn't support the isolation level specified in any of the invocation, the driver can substitute a higher, more restrictive transaction isolation. So, if I don't have one option of isolation level, just I can go in for other isolation levels, which is one level higher than that of the isolation level which you are in need of. So, it means that that level will also take care of this particular isolation level. So, this is what I told you. It may sometimes throw SQL exceptions whenever I try to substitute a higher transaction level. Database metadata.support transaction isolation level method is used to determine whether or not the driver supports a given isolation level. So, as a summary, in this session we have seen about transaction, we have seen about how transaction is done in JDBC, what is committing, what is rollback, how to create save points and how to roll back till your save points, and also we have seen something regarding preserving the data integrity and also about the isolation levels. So, from this session we will be able to list down the properties of transaction, what properties your transaction should hold, how are commit and rollback used, how to set and release a save point, what is the isolation level. So, and with this we come to the session of JDBC. So, in JDBC we have seen how to make a connectivity, and we have also seen how to navigate through your your result set, and also we have seen how to perform transactions with respect to the JDBC. So, and in later on sessions we will be discussing about other packages that is available in Java. Thank you.